what would you counsel New England to do at 3 if Drake Maye's sitting there? And again, I know that there's puzzle pieces that might land in free agency, but I just don't know if they be the ones to go flip draft capital, which they have no really business doing these days. They got to use it for their own engine for Justin Fields. I'm assuming they're just not going to hit the quarterback in the free agent market and will enter the first Thursday in Detroit, potentially needing to draft one. What would you do?
If New England wants to take Drake Maye at 3, they better have a free agent already signed. Drake Maye has to be on the Jordan Love type of timeline. Drake Maye has to sit, and I'll give you the one reason why, Rich. His feet are too sloppy and too all over the place. And I know this, again, kind of the conversation I just had about cyclical in nature and style of play. And I've learned this. I've adjusted the way I look at it, from Sam Darnold to Mitchell Trubisky. I've watched all these high-end quarterbacks in the NFL refine and work on. If you go into the NFL and mechanically your feet are sloppy and you don't fix it, you're going to struggle. You might get away with it here and there. You're going to struggle. I've watched Josh Allen fixes or refine. I've watched Patrick Mahomes do it. I've watched Lamar Jackson do it. They all have to. And Drake Maye is an amazing talent. I love his Pittsburgh game. He's the difference in the game. He makes some big time plays down the field. He controls the line of scrimmage with protection. Ball comes out on time, drops that back leg and rips it. And then I see some plays like, hey man, you can get away with that against Pitt on that deep crosser and versus man coverage, but that you're not going to survive a long time in the NFL like that. And I just think so often we take these young players, and I say this all the time, Rich, these guys are getting drafted early because they're talented. I don't necessarily have to tell people about the talent. Part of my job is I got to find the flaw, find the weakness, find the bad, what needs to get fixed so the talent constantly is at the top. And, if New England takes him and expects him to play right away, that gives me agita thinking about it, because I want that young man to sit for a year or two, refine that lower half, and then unleash like Green Bay did.
All right, so in the time I have left with you, let me just ask you then, do you put McCarthy or Penix over May in that regard?
No.
Okay.
The one that I would put sniffing Drake would be JJ. I think JJ McCarthy, and this is, I haven't watched every single snap of his so far. I'm about 40-50% done through it. I called his first college game ever, so I'm a massive fan of JJ's.
Well, and you could skip the second half of the Penn State game too, so you could move it along, because he didn't.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about. Can I touch on that real quick?
Sure.
Can I touch on that real quick?
Sure.
I get frustrated when I hear people say, "Well, if he's that good, why didn't they throw it more?"
Oh, please. Yeah, I know, right?
Guys, they went 15-0.
That's right.
If they needed to throw it more, they would have, and it's just the style of play that Jim, Harbaugh wanted to play. I think two things that I love about JJ that have stood out on tape is I think he makes very difficult things look easy. Very difficult things look easy. And that's a trait that is unique in the NFL. And then, I always say, Rich, you got to walk the fine line between reckless and aggressive. I don't know if there's a guy in this draft more confident in what his eyes tell him to do with the football than JJ. And again, I love that trait in quarterbacks.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.